Well, how about that rockin' open on this opening day, December the 2nd, here at Bucolic Gulfstream Park. Day number one of the championship season, and unlike Gulfstream Park West, where it seemingly rained every day, you can tell the racing gods and Mother Nature are on our side. Couldn't ask for a better day in the weather department. A sparkling infield lake, fast and firm conditions, and just like that, we are back at 1901 South Federal Highway, off and running here, the championship season at Gulfstream Park. Jason Blewett, Ron Nicoletti joining you from our respective studios and wishing everybody, including you, Ronnie, a happy that is, opening day here at Gulfstream.
Opening day. I was using all my fingers and toes. It's my 34th opening day here at Gulfstream Park, working here in some fashion over the years, and excited as if it was the first one.
Yeah, no, it's a day where you get that vibe. I mean, you get that palpable vibe, and there's a lot to look forward to over the next 4 months or so when you consider the Curlin Florida Derby, the two Pegasus races, and just the top flight racing. And the usual suspects and beyond will be a part of the scene here, where you've got even a new shooter like Brad Cox, who's going to have some odd 30 horses, give or take, based up at Palmetto. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to. We're glad everybody's with us as we get tied on for the first of 10 races on the program beginning at 12:35 Eastern. Now, before we go forward, we do take a quick step back in what transpired here for 2019 and 2020. Here's a look at the rider standings, and I'll tell you, Ronnie, I knew it was close, but I think I forgot how close the leading rider race was between Arad and Louis, where only 2 wins separated those guys right down to closing day.
Yeah, it was a great battle. You're right. It's you don't remember it, but it was fantastic. 115 to 113. Those numbers alone are amazing.
They really are. Now, Todd Pletcher, speaking of amazing numbers, I mean, he has been Mr. Gulfstream Park, Mr. Wintertime down here for almost 2 decades on. He just hit 5,000 career victories. I think, if memory serves, the 8th trainer to hit that milestone about 3 weeks ago. All-time leader in purse money won at almost $400 million. He's got 16, a sweet 16, in fact, as far as the Gulfstream Park Championship meet titles go. 5 Florida Derby wins. He'll be a 1-20 shot to be enshrined in Racing's Hall of Fame in 2021. And his season, Ronnie, begins in earnest today. He's got 2 entered a bit later in the afternoon.
Yeah, always good to see Todd back in the entries, and really excited to get going. And Todd, just that number alone right there, 16 Gulfstream Park Championship titles. I remember years ago, guys had 3 or 4, and they thought that was the end all. And now he's got 16 of them. That is amazing.
Yeah, races 5 and 8 for Mr. Todd on the afternoon, the consummate professional. And we are off and running. That goes without saying here on this 10-race Wednesday, but we're right into the first, major weekend and big-time Saturday in just a couple of days with the annual Claiming Crown, which is an event that's found a home here annually in early December at Gulfstream, which is great, and a day of racing that's near and dear to both of us, and that'll be drawn a bit later today, Ronnie. You've got 9 Claiming Crown stakes this coming Saturday.
Yeah, Claiming Crowns. I just heard the guys in the office saying that the Mike Maker has won 16 Claiming Crown races. I just overheard that. That is amazing to me. Like you said, they'll be drawing the entries a little later on today.
Now, 12:35, and just going forward, that's a firm 12:35 Eastern start time here at Gulfstream Park. The new meet commences there, and that kicks off the opening pick 5. We've got a couple on the afternoon, and if I get my calculator out, Ronnie, and do a little calculation here, probably in the hole $3,000 or whatever for GPW. But we start with the clean slate, and I'll keep my fingers crossed with the $27 play to start. I built this ticket around, and I'm trying, I guess, to get some equity in Excalibur, the 7-horse in the second race, who's 6-5 in the program and looks like a tough-to-beat favorite. I've got the 3 horses. There's 3 standout horses in the first race, which we'll expound upon in a second. I used all 3 of them. I've got a 3-horse spread in the third race, very much built around, at least in my mind, the 4 Royal Asset, who I think is going to run well for Kelly Breen. The 2 Logicals in the fourth, and then wrapping it up and coming full circle with a 1-4-8 spread in the cash-out leg. That'll be the 5th race on the turf. That might be my favorite race on today's card. We'll see what transpires there with the Gulfstream Park return of Rochambeau, who is still a maiden after all this time, but a major player there. And speaking of major players, you've got 3. Again, the 4 who you picked in this first race in Allure Loring Rumba, the 5, Mio Sola Mia, and of course the 7, Coin the Phrase, who's likely going to be favored here. And I didn't get too cute, Ronnie, to start. In fact, I guess quite the contrary in the argument of picking Coin the Phrase. New face for 16. He's got speed. You got a trainer who did very well across town at GPW with Ken Sweezy. I'm going to take the trainer change over the 5, Mio Sola Mia.
Yeah, I went with the 4, Loring Rumba, who's faced special weight competition, sprinting on the grass here during the summer, drops to the 16 level, returned from the leg, showed that speed, chased the pace, and finished third, was the favorite for Kelsey Dana. Joe Bravo handling the surface switch. We both have the number 5, Mia Sola Mia, in second. This one now in the Jorge Delgado barn. Wanted to show you a quick stat on Jorge Delgado. First after a trainer switch. This is on all surfaces. He's solid. He's 6 for 25, 24%, 44% in the money. 135 is a return of investment. I just thought this horse would run well in here, and apparently so did you. Just being this daughter of strong mandate on the drop.
And a horse that, in fact, got loose a few weeks ago, would have been favored in the Wednesday opener exactly 14 days ago and lost the rider, and obviously was a late scratch there on that second-to-last Wednesday card at Gulfstream West. This is a tougher field than what Mia Sola Mia would have been running against over in Miami Gardens, but still a big-time player. And Luis Saez, in fact, his first mount of the season, hoping to win his 3rd career Gulfstream Park Championship meet title. To the main we go. Wednesday's 4th race on the dirt, which is a 10-8 2-lifetime claimer. You've got 2 key horses that are going to take the bulk of the play. You and I both landed on the favorite, the 3 Omnia, who seems to be pretty sharp for Kent, getting back on the dirt this afternoon. And then you've got the speed in a race like this does scare me, and I do think moves up the number 1 Simple Story from that inside post.
Yeah, going to wear the blinkers this afternoon after dueling for the lead and finishing second in our crosstown finale, going that 2-turn mile. As I mention each and every year, and I'm sure people are sick of me hearing it say it, but over here at Gulfstream Park, mile is a 1-turn race. Of course,
I'm sick of you saying that.
Yeah, just wanted to put it out there because it does affect your handicapping, and me being a handicapper, I got to say it.
All right, fair enough. That Simple Story from the rail with Edgar for Gustavo, and you've got Omnias. Ken Sweezy has got Coin the Phrase in the first at 7-5, and he's 7-5 on the line with Luis Saez as we send it to break. But before that, we go back. Bob Baffert, his 2nd ever Pegasus Dirt win last January with Mucho Gusto and Pete Aiello.
Up front, Mr. Freeze has the lead. Bodie Express and Jaramillo now. Mucho Gusto guided to the clear, and he's on the attack now with a 1/4 mile left to go. Diamond Oops is back to 4th, then tenfold, but Mucho Gusto threatening to blow this wide open. Mucho Gusto and Irad Ortiz Jr. less than a 1/4 mile from home, on top by 3, by 4, and moving away. Back to second is Mr. Freeze. Bodie Express and Diamond Oops are next. War Story from last for a minor placing, but Bob Baffert is unstoppable as Mucho Gusto and Irad Ortiz Jr., authoritative winners of the Pegasus World Cup. On the outside, Tiz the Law bids up boldly now to challenge Ete Indian for the top. Chivalry at a huge number cuts the corner and tries to fight on. Gouverneur Morris is loose and charging on the far outside. Less than a 1/4 mile to go. Manny Franco sets down Tiz the Law, and he's moving away. Chivalry is now outrunning Ete Indian for second. Gouverneur Morris is now 4th. Less than a 16th to go in the Florida Derby, and it's time to respect the law. Tiz the Law is your Florida Derby winner. He won by 3 over Chivalry second, Ete Indian third, then Gouverneur Morris and Independence Hall to complete the high 5 in 150 flat.
That race doesn't feel all that long ago, Ronnie, right? I mean, that was the tail end of March. We saw a coronation of Tiz the Law, who went into the spring, although not a traditional spring by any sense, the best 3-year-old in the nation, and we've got him full circle, essentially, currently based up at Palm Meadows with Barkley Tag, pointing to the Pegasus in 2021.
Yeah, he's been training very well. He loves it down here in South Florida, so I'm expecting him to run exceptionally well whenever he gets back to the races we'll say this winter.
Yeah, absolutely. Pegasus World Cup in late January. That'll be the next time we see the big Tiz the Law in action. Stronach 5, we welcome back the 12% takeout Stronach 5, the dollar minimum, and really happy. It was a frustrating 39, 40-day run we had because of the weather over in Miami Gardens. Happy to have Gulfstream in the mix, and as such, Ronnie, I mean, we've got 3 of our races locally making up half of this thing this Friday afternoon.
Yeah, races 8, 9, and 10 at Gulfstream Park. A couple of races 9 and 10 are not easy, but that's why you get the big bucks when you hit this thing, 12% takeout.
You definitely do. Now, we have seeded 50 Gs in the Rainbow Six pool this afternoon on day 1 of the championship season, and the sequence today, the Rainbow does start in style. I like this 5th race a lot, and I'm curious, you and I did not talk about who we like prior to coming on the air. I'm curious to see how this Rainbow Six ticket is looking here on day 1.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't have a $43.20 ticket. I think the first part of the Rainbow Six is tough. I went 3 deep in here with the Angry Man, Rochambeau, and Break Beat. Tough to say that one. 3 deep again in race number 6 with Piper, Pitufina, and Brody's on it. That's a wide open race in there. I'm not totally convinced. 3 deep in race number 7. Got my long shot in there. Our Fantasy for Kathleen O'Connell. 15-1 on the morning line. And as I mentioned, I think races 8, 9, and 10, you got a logical favorites in those races. In race number 8, Ashar, you mentioned for Todd Pletcher. And in race number 9, my best bet is actually Tracy Ann's Legacy for Kelly Breen. And in the last race, I think French Reef for Chad Brown is going to take all the money in that spot.
Yeah, that horse is going to be a massive favorite closing things down. And from my standpoint, looks like a pretty reliable favorite. I normally wouldn't send in a positive trainer stat for a horse who's probably in the neighborhood of even money. But wait till you see the first time for a tag numbers for that barn. And we'll have that stat forthcoming in a few minutes here. But again, you know, we start and move the clock back to race number 5, where you've got a good-looking cast of 3-and-up maiden special weight types on the turf, led by some horses that have had a number of chances and have run pretty well, consistently well, without winning, of course. And I think topping that sentiment is the inside posted Rochambeau, who returns here to Gulfstream Park for Cherie DeVaux, and here's his last race at Kentucky Downs. I pulled this for you, Ronnie. I know watching Kentucky Downs and even doing some replay work, you go, geez, when are they going to hit the finish line? Yeah. But this is him, red cap, he's in front. He had a clear lead and couldn't seal the deal. But I guess for me, Ronnie, and he was DQ'd, you'll see him basically cut off that 4-horse in the blue cap who was inside. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, despite being winless in 8 starts, he has run some pretty big races. And what's your opinion of him this afternoon?
Well, you know, he's run well here at Gulfstream Park, 3 for 5 in the money. And, you know, you saw that. That turned out to be a pretty good race at Kentucky Downs. He didn't run that race very well. As you mentioned, he was disqualified, but it produced a couple of next-out winners in that spot. So I just thought he was a logical contender in there. Really like the work that Cherie DeVaux does. So we'll see how she runs. This horse runs this afternoon.
And, in fact, the 2 former Chad Brown assistants out on their own. Cherie, of course, and spends the winters with us and has a pretty solid string in Kentucky. And then you've got Dermot Magner sending out the morning line favorite, who we both picked in the 4, the Angry Man. And I guess for me, what turned me on the end and was good enough to give this gelding by Summerfront the top spot, I don't admittedly know the New York horse population as well as I did, say, 4.5, 5 years ago. Yet those races this horse caught from Saratoga were clearly live. And I think he ran well in those races, and that's ultimately why I picked him on top. I do like those 2 turf races he ran at Saratoga.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. He was a well-man second in both those previous races at Saratoga. You mentioned the connections. It reunites this gelded, you know, Dermot's going to reunite this gelded son of Summerfront, with Louis Sayers, who rode one of those races up there at the Spa. So I just think that he was the one to beat there, the one we both have in second. I wanted to touch on the number 5 who you have in fourth, and that's Break Beat, who stepped jumping up on to face maiden special weight competition. Pair well-meant seconds against those 75 maidens on the New York turf circuit. Wanted to show you a stat on Danny Gargan with his domestic shippers coming into Gulfstream Park on the turf. He's 11 for 36. That's 31%, 56% in the money. 303 is the return of investment. I guess the horse has got to prove, Jason, that he can handle the maiden special weights, but he run okay against those 75 maidens.
Yeah, he's run fine in high-priced maiden claiming company. I guess in the end, I wasn't sure that race that he was coming out of at Belmont in late September, and I was looking at, on Formulator anyway, horses are 0 for 6 out of that race, and what prompted me to look even further, Gunman, who was third in that race, came back and ran about a week and a half ago over at Gulfstream West for Todd Pletcher, was a big 4-5 favorite and ran 5th. So that might not be a super strong race that Breakbeat's coming out of, but he does have speed, and he's got Danny Gargan, who figures to have pretty much a daily presence down here. And Danny's horses have shipped into South Florida. They did quite well over the last couple of weeks at GPW. Now, 5 down and 5 to go. We'll start the late pick 5 today. I'll take a little gander here and swing at this ticket. I'm standing alone with Chad's horse in the last for an $18 play. And basically, I worked from that 10th race forward. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I don't think I have anything that is a crazy price per se or a long shot. The 8th race, yeah, I used Todd's horse and Kathy Ritvo's horse in the 6 Our Nation on Parade and the 5 Ashar, and I've obviously got the 2 and 3 to start, and a race very much built around the 3 Piper. The horse I was most interested in, and I think is our second and final sort of major in the body scratch today, is the 10 Kinky Frolic, who's out of this opening leg of the late 5, and we'll go with the cast of 9. And I would like to think with Kinky Frolic not in the mix, maybe that makes Piper's job a little bit easier. I mean, she's clearly, of the ones in here that have raced once or twice, she's got the best form, and I think it's probably a simple case of, is she simply catching the right feel with that big speed of hers? Speed we're going to check out in her last start here back in the middle of November.
Yeah, she ran pretty good in that race, and she's dropping today. So I think she's a logical contender in here. As you mentioned, with the scratch of the 10, makes her look even a little better.
Yeah, she's got the early speed, and I do think, as silly as it might sound, I think for early December, for a 2-year-old debuting, for a maiden 16 claiming tag, assuming Piper runs as well as she did in this start and 2 back, I think a firster is going to have to run a little bit. I really think you're going to have like a quote-unquote live firster to compete with Piper today. And judging from your selections, you and I both think that the 2 Brody's Honors got a shot to run as we go back to Jorge Delgado. You know, Misael riding that filly by Brody's Cause, I wonder if that's almost a telegraph that they expect her not only to be live, but that she might be pretty gate sharp and might be pretty quick first time out.
Yeah, I would recommend to watch the tote action when we come up to race number 6 to see if this horse is live. You've been watching the board with these type of horses, and it's sort of been telling for us.
Now the 7th, we're back on the turf. You've still got 3 turf races remaining fairly late in the card as we move on to this 3 lifetime 3-and-up filly mare, $20,000 to $16,000 claimer, and you and I both taking horses positioned towards the outside. The 9 Helena Beat in this race is coming in off a victory. And, you know, drawing the race up, Ronnie, I see a lot of speed in here, mainly coming from the middle of the pack with the 6 Dienda and the 7 My Masterpiece. And going back to a statement I made a few minutes ago, it seemed like the majority of the Jane Sabelli trained horses we saw shipped to Florida in the waning days of GPW, those horses were running well. And I felt as though Helena Beat, as we go back and take a look at her win last time out at Monmouth, would get a trip comparable to this one. She was more or less an up-close, like stalking 3-wide speed in that first flight. And I'll tell you, watching this race again, she's in the white blinkers and white cap there sitting 4th. At no point, I mean, even at this juncture, it doesn't look like she's going to get there, and she'll start to surge in deep stretch and won this race going away. Good effort, a horse in off a win, and above all, I just thought she'd get a trip comparable to this race back on September 19th with Dienda and My Masterpiece in the fold. You're right next door. You're taking the 10R Fantasy as Kathleen O'Connell saddles your long shot, and she had a bang-up second half to the season at Gulfstream West.
She did. This one, 15-1 on the morning line, was eliminated at the start. She dwelt in that race. That was a previous outing on the turf. Goes back to the grass today after drawing clear to defeat those 2 lifetime claimers. going a 2-turn mile across town. Kathleen O'Connell, you mentioned Luca Panici. I just think this horse is sort of moving the right way. I'm going to put a line through that last turf race. I'm looking for a price. I agree with you with Helena Beat. That was from a tough post. Post 12, she ran exceptionally well in there. And then I went with Little Bit Good, who's stretching out to the mile today. Followed her 2 lifetime victory at the distance. She closed okay, and she's another one for Ronnie Spatz I think is going to sit that nice trip behind the speed you were alluding to.
Now we'll get on to the final dirt race as we speed along through this opening day card here at Gulfstream Park amid fast and firm conditions. And our dirt cappers, a good little field here, I think very much led off the bat, despite the fact that the 5 Ashar has only run once in 2020, and we have not seen him since finishing well up the track at a pretty big price behind Chance It. And as seen on TV in the Mucho Macho Man, he's sort of the marquee story going in off the big pedigree, the big purchase price. And here he is, in fact. Now, this is 3 workouts ago, back on the morning of November 14th at Palm Beach Downs for trainer Todd Pletcher. He's breezing in company. Outside of him, in fact, is Largent, who's done some pretty good things and is a pretty solid miler/middle distance runner on the turf. And I said to you, Ronnie, the only race we had talked about before the show began was this, because I asked you if you liked the 5 Ashar. And from my standpoint, I think if he's as good as I think he is, he's supposed to be really, really tough off the long layoff. And clearly this is a barn that not only has had local success here, the layoff stats really back up our strong case for the 5 Ashar.
Yeah, Todd Pletcher, first after trainer switch on the dirt right here at Gulfstream Park. He's 11 for 32, 34%, 66% in the money, 151 is a return of investment. We're going to take the blinkers off, really training sharply as you just shown up there at Palm Beach Downs. So Luis Saez in the saddle, lots to like in there. Our Nation on Parade loves to finish third, and then Life in Shambles for me in the third spot. We got the exact same super in that particular
We do.
race.
The 3 favorites lined up in a row there. Is Our Nation on Parade, though, do you think the biggest danger to Ashar? Layoff aside, let's take Layoff out of the picture. If he doesn't run here or catches a worthy foe, I mean, what do you like about Our Nation on Parade?
I mean, this horse has been knocking heads with some really good competition, but has that, it seems to finish third in all its races. 7 starts with all the third-place finishes this year, but without the 5 in, the one to beat.
Let's move on to race number 9. An all-turf double kicks off with this 9th race. A non-winners are won, $25,000 allowance optional claimer. A lead, and you were saying with your Rainbow Six, you felt there were 3 consecutive favorites, more or less, from Todd's Ashar into the Chad horse in the finale, and sandwiched between 3 favorites that looked pretty solid on paper. Sandwiched in between Todd and Chad is trainer Mark Cassie and his horse Catch a Thrill. And here she is in mid-September. There were about, at this time, 2 weeks, give or take, left in the summer meet at Gulfstream. And I feel like off a little bit of a layoff, because this race on September 17th was her first start since early June. I feel like she ran her race. It was just a case where the Kathy Ritvo horse and Katie Lay just didn't stop and paid almost $25 in a wire-to-wire upset. Let me ask you this, Ronnie. You draw the race up. You've got Catch a Thrill to beat as the favorite. What about the trip she's going to pull in this race? I mean, do you not see some speed for her to lay up close and track early on?
Yeah, and one of those speeds is the horse that I have on top. We have our exacta flip-flop. It's Tracy Ann's Legacy. 6 for 6 in the money on this turf course. 6 starts, a couple of wins, second and 3/3 returns. Broke slowly in its last race, finished 4th. That was that overnight stake going 5.5 on a good turf up at Monmouth. She's the speed in my estimation for Kelly Breen. You got Paco. I think he's going to be playing Catch Me If You Can. And the one that might catch it is Catch a Thrill. So 1-2-2-1 is the way I saw it. I lean towards the speed on this turf course in the first couple of days. I want to see. I think that hasn't been used in months. Maybe the horse is just going to really enjoy being on it and going right to the front on this beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, absolutely. Over Gators worried me a little bit that she could take the starch out of your top pick, the number 9, Tracy Ann's Legacy. But no, she's put up some big numbers and is one of a couple of horses with big chances today, trained by Kelly Breen. Speaking of big chances, we move on to race number 10, and we cap the card here right around 5 and a firm 5 p.m. Eastern off time for the last, by the way. It's a 2 lifetime, $20,000 to $16,000, 3 and up claiming race on the turf. And like I was saying, normally I wouldn't send in a positive trainer stat for a horse who's probably going to be teetering in odds-on territory, but check out these numbers here with Chad's horse, the 9 French Reef. This is just straight up first time for a tag over a 5-year span. I mean, you're talking close to 85 starters, Ronnie, with over 30 wins and a strike rate of 40%.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. In the money 71% of the time. That is something. And you expect this horse, Chad usually spots horses when they go. You got Paco Lopez just on the drop there. So maybe a little bit of a red flag on the big drop in here, but showed speed and faded when facing allowance competition up north. So I just think the one to beat in the Nightcap. I did go with the number 2 horse in second, Sope, who's stepping up to the next level. Successful debut. I know we both like this horse for Efren Loza Jr. And you're getting Edgar Zayas in the saddle today. He's going to have a busy day. So French Reef, for some reason, doesn't fire. I thought maybe the 2 horse can grab a share, and Mr. Kelly in third.
All right, 9-10 for me, 9-2 for Ronnie as we dive into this opening day lightning round on Gulfstream Park today. There are many prevalent topics to cover this afternoon, including jockey Edgar Zayas off the bat, where you've got, and he's our first item, does Edgar win more than 2 races today? He's riding all 10. If you average out his morning line price, Ronnie, it's probably in the neighborhood of around 3-1 or so. I like him in the second with Excalibur. I say he wins at least 2 races today.
Absolutely, Excalibur, and then he's riding the horse I really like in race number 3 with Grand Saman Saman. So that was in the 3rd race. So he's going to get those 2 early, as you mentioned. He's got plenty of chances this afternoon.
If he's watching this, he's probably going, "You two are the kiss of death. I'll be happy if I can win 1 on opening day, and you guys both think I'm going to win at least 2. Get lost." All right. How about best favorite, strongest favorite on today's card, morning line favorite? Who do you think it is?
It's going to be French Reef. I just think for Chad Brown, I mean, he's a logical contender in there, and you'd think so. Maybe Todd's horse a little earlier on, but the strongest, I got to go with French Reef. On just watching Chad over these years, hard not to put him on top of your ticket.
Yeah, that stat I sent in was fresh in my mind, and I got to tell you though, it's almost a coin flip with French Reef, who I would give the nod to, and Excalibur in the second. I think they are 2 very reliable favorites. Now, it's interesting. Shakiest favorite today for me, it's Grand Saman, who I just, not that he's going to be a runaway favorite in the 3rd. I don't know how much breathing room or wiggle room he has in a field that I thought looked pretty contentious on paper.
Well, mine is Our Nation on Parade, and I sort of tipped my hand there with just finishing 3rd in those 7 races, and you got that strong horse by Chad. So that was the win, Our Nation on Parade. Once this horse proves he can win, even in that race, then maybe I'll change it, but that's my shakiest favorite of the day today.
New meet, we all start with the blank slate, yet as far as we go, moving on to the trainers, who are some barns we should keep an eye on? Now, I'll go first because there's 3 that come to mind, essentially, and you probably agree with all 3. And all 3 of these outfits had excellent seasons over at Gulfstream Park West. You've got Carlos David, who finished 5th in the standings there with 14 wins. And he's got claimers, he's got 2-year-olds, he's good in all divisions. Kathleen O'Connell, 3rd over there with 16 wins. Her barn was just gangbusters the last couple of weeks. And I think Ken Sweezy, who's got Omnia and is currently 7-5 in the first race today, I think those are 3 outfits that did well at GPW that have every right to come out firing here this new meet.
Well, I looked up a couple of stats that have, over the last couple of years for me, and I'm going to put the glasses on for this because, well, Kathleen O'Connell, we'll start with her first. She's much better second in the meeting. I looked her up. She's 23% winning. Her second starts at the meeting, but you guys got like Shug McGahee. He's 19% with his first start at the meet. Trainers that do well early. Victor Barboza Jr., of course, we know about that. So just trainers like that start the meet, that run well early on, I think can do good. But the 3 that you put, I have no problems with them. We could have said Todd. We could have said Chad. We know that's going to happen. I like the fact that you got a couple of young guns in there.
Yeah.
And, of course, Kathleen, second start of the meet, I'm on Kathleen.
No, it's an interesting nugget there. I hadn't realized that with KO for sure. Now, a new meet, things are different. We again, you're dealing with a completely different venue, a completely different track layout, a turf course that is state-of-the-art and massive. What are, off the bat, I mean, some key differences you're going to be looking for maybe horses to keep an eye on that didn't particularly handle the going over at Gulfstream Park West?
Well, we had a very unique situation there. It rained so much, and it looked like when it rained, if you had to be on the inside paths and you had to be on the engine or right close to the lead. So I'm thinking you look at horses that have run sort of differently there. Maybe you translate it here. Beginning of the meet for me, speed is always the key here at Gulfstream Park, but I think it's going to be a much fairer track, rain or shine. So I'm looking for that. Now, turf course, we've talked about this ad nauseum last year. It's tough to win from those outside posts, going a mile in the 16th. Keep that in the back of your minds as the meet progresses. Still early on, so that's my difference that I see in this early part of the meeting.
Yeah, I think I'm going to focus in on turf horses, and I just found in my 4 meets covering the races at Gulfstream West, that can be at times a little bit of a fickle, finicky course, and not every horse likes it over there. And I'm going to look for horses that maybe had respectable form and just didn't show up or didn't like. There weren't many days where that ground over at GPW, the turf course anyway, was listed as firm. Maybe some horses that didn't like the softer turf or rain-softened ground. And those are the kinds of horses I'm going to be looking for on the turf, and you might be able to get some good prices here opening a few weeks of the meet. Now, as far as the Rainbow Six is concerned, my friend, this afternoon, that's a lot of bread. We've got $50,000 up for grabs. Ronnie gave out his ticket for $43.20. Could you ask Ronnie for a nicer day in the weather department? I mean, how nice is it here as we're off and running on December 2nd?
Yeah, I just can't wait to see, especially to see how the horses run on the turf course this afternoon. 43 for 20 for me. Had a lot of luck for me over at Gulfstream Park West, hitting a couple of those Rainbow Sixes, so maybe I can carry that over to the big track today.
And we are down to the final item. That is the big man upstairs, the one, the only Pete Aiella. We haven't seen him or heard from him, minus the closing race at GPW in about a month or so. Good to have Pete in the building. We appreciate all of you joining us, and we'll send it up to the big man upstairs for those opening day scratches and changes.